Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there, Nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to another episode of Way of the Warhammer, your ultimate guide to Warhammer the Old World. Whether you're a fresh-faced recruit or a battle-hardened general returning to the field, Way of the Warhammer is your one-stop tutorial series for mastering the epic fantasy games of Games Workshop's Warhammer the Old World. In this series, we'll break down everything you need to know to command your forces with confidence. And on today's army list, we're talking about making a 2,000-point High Elf Realms Grand Army for your games of Warhammer Fantasy. In this video, we'll talk about our character choices, our core requirements, our special as well as our rare units, and we'll also give you a little brief rundown on exactly how to use these fighters in your own battle so that way you can dominate in your next game of Warhammer the Old World. Now, because the video will be a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps in the description box down below so that way you can click and navigate to the part of the video that interests you the most. So that being said, let's talk about playing the High Elf Realms. So first of all, let's talk about why you should be playing the High Elf Realms. So first of all, they're really good at pretty much all aspects of the game. There's not really part of the phase that they kind of struggle with. They have very quick movement, so they're really good at the movement phase. They also have a lot of fast movers, a lot of characters with flight being able to use that, and a lot of high movement allowance. They're also really good in close combat. They have some really good weapon skill, kind of lacking a little bit in strength as well as toughness, but that's basically okay. They're really good with magic as well, and they're also really good at shooting. So there's no real aspect of the game that they really struggle with. The only thing they really do struggle with is that traditionally a High Elf Realm army is primarily what's known as a glass cannon in the war game. Now, what I mean by glass cannon is we're talking about an army that strikes really hard, causes a lot of damage, but is not really built to last, not really survivable on the tabletop. And the reason why is because all elves, regardless of who they are, traditionally have about a strength of 3 as well as a toughness of 3. So that's the problem that they run into. They're not very survivable because they can definitely dish out hits, but they really can't take them in return. So you have to be really careful about what kind of fights you do decide to establish yourself in, because you really can't afford to be tar-pitted down in a long-lasting fight. You got to hit hard, you got to hit fast, you got to overwhelm your enemy, and you got to move on very quickly. All right, so that's the thing you got to remember when it comes to playing High Elves. What they lack in their durability, they make up for in their offensive output. They have really high ballista skills as well as high weapon skills. They also have really powerful weapons that can help them outdo this. Not to mention their initiative is also quite high as well. So even though they're using great weapons in many cases, like White Lions of Trace, for example, or Sword Masters of Hoeth, they essentially have such a high initiative rate, they're still pretty much fighting first anyways, and they get that additional strength bonus as well. So that's something you want to take into consideration. So when you do play High Elves, it's a really good army to use for beginners because their playstyle is very simple and the way they do things. So what you have to do is you got to make sure you play to your strengths and limit your weaknesses. So don't get bogged down in long drawn-out fights. Aim for things like the flanks, for example, or hit your enemy from behind and the rear if you can do that to disrupt your enemies. If you decide to take your enemy on head-on, gang up on your enemy by doing a flank attack as well as a forward attack, and you should be pretty good so far. Now, this particular 2,000-point Grand Army that I actually put together for you guys is a very fast-moving as well as a very aggressive army list, all right? The reason why is because we're using heavy use of cavalry as well as monsters to do a lot of your movement as well as your close combat as well. We're also relying on some pretty powerful magic that you'll be able to use in order to overwhelm your enemies, and we also have some really powerful shooting options as well to kind of level the playing field a little bit. Now, I am aware that in Warhammer the Old World they kind of nerfed a little bit with the shooting aspect of the game, but still, High Elves still have some pretty decent shooting, so we're going to include that in the list. The real meta right now is really kind of focusing on monsters as well as cavalry from what I'm seeing so far and what people are seeing in the community, so we're going to definitely use that for this list as well. And that's why I like to call this a meta build, because it's kind of based on the things that we're seeing on the tabletop throughout the Warhammer the Old World community. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and talk about our army lists. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about our army list for this one. I lovingly call this army Lord Tremendous' Kryptonite. So Lord Tremendous, if you are watching this video, I dedicate this one to you. Just because Lord Tremendous is a great YouTuber. He makes a lot of great content for Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Back in 8th edition, had a great run of videos on that. And he also has a really good series now on Warhammer the Old World. So I would suggest you go check out his channel if you guys haven't done so yet. He's been gone for a bit, but he's been back now, and he's been making a lot of content for the Old World, so definitely check out his video. And if anybody knows anything about Lord Tremendous, he cannot stand stand high elves of any type. He hates elves and fighting against them. And specifically, high elves are probably the one that triggers him the most, which is kind of funny because I love playing high elves. That was the very first army I played when I played Warhammer Fantasy Battles, so this is why I dedicate this one. So let's talk about Lord Tremendous's Kryptonite. So first of all, let's start with the characters real quick. So first of all, your prince is going to be your general of your army. It's going to cost you 518 points. And once again, this is going to be a dragon. We're going to be having this guy ride a dragon for this one. Now, if you notice, his weapons aren't all that great because you have magical weapons for him, but we did give him full plate armor as well as shield as well to give him that really impressive armor save. Now, we didn't take the Blood of Calidor, and the reason why is because we really don't want to put Impetuous on our general. Now, granted, if we were able to do that, of course, if whatever he charges against won't be a big issue because of what he's riding, but still, though, you want a little bit more control over your general. At the same time, we're mounting this guy on a Star Dragon. So Star Dragons, of course, movement 6, 7 weapon skills, 7 strength, plus 3 to toughness, plus 6 to wounds, 2 initiative, 6 attacks, Wicked Claws, Dragon Fire. It's also got Draconic Scales, which are, of course, full plate armor as well. It can fly at 10 inches, has D6 plus 1 stomp attacks. It has Swift Stride. It causes terror. It's the Nightmare of the Skies. The Star Dragon is absolutely dangerous. And when you combine that with the Prince, of course, we're going to give this guy 9 wounds as well. We're also giving this guy a toughness 6 with his characteristic as well. Plus, he's got all those great things. He also strikes first, which is quite good. So it's just a normal powerhouse kit to keep put together. There's a reason why dragons are currently the #1 meta right now for Warhammer the Old World, and the Prince is no slouch and continues to show that with your Star Dragon. Now, of course, we do have some magic items for us. Let's talk about that real quick. First of all, taking the Dragon Slaying Sword for this character. This guy's strengthening at strength 4, but it's got magical attacks, and it's also got Monster Slayer, which basically means that if you manage to roll a natural 6, monstrous killing blow, which is absolutely fantastic. So you want to definitely use that against your enemies' larger targets as well. At the same time, we're also giving this character the Opal Amulet as well. Opal Amulet gives you a 2-up ward save against a single wound. You can also choose which one you want to use it for, so in case you take a cannonball to the face, this could really help you out. And we're also giving this guy the Seed of Rebirth, giving you a 5-up regeneration save, which is quite common as well, and that way makes this guy a little bit more survivable in close combat, also being shot against, also in case you get shot by a cannon or something. Now let's talk about our wizard course. We're taking an archmage. Now we're going to do something a little bit different with our archmage, and the reason why, oh, I forgot to mention this as well. Your prince is going to automatically come with the Pure Heart Elven Honor, just because it's free. Like I said before, I do apologize for that. Now, for your archmage, though, we're going to do something a little bit different with this character. We're actually making this character a Shadow Stalker for 20 credits. Now, 20 points. And the reason why, so that way they have both Avalorn, so they can take that. They also can have Ambushers, Evasive, Fire and Flee, Move to Cover, as well as a Scout Special rule. So the nice thing about this character, this guy could actually run with either the Shadow Warriors or the Sisters of Avalorn that we have in this list. You can run with either one of them. Perfectly fine depending on the situations you're facing on the battlefield. Now this character does have a Bow of Lorn, of course. That's going to give you Armor Bane 1 as well as magical attacks and volley fire with a 30-inch range. This guy's got a 4 ballistic skill, so no slouch with the shooting attack as well. We're making this guy a little Fort Wizard. Now he has to stay on foot because we did take the Shadow Stalker Elven Honor, but we're giving this guy Battle Magic. And the reason why is because Battle Magic, of course, has a lot of different spells that could really help you out in order to cause some problems for your enemies. So definitely want to take that. We're also giving this guy the Silvery Wand as well, so that we have one additional spell that you can take on top of whatever you have. Alright, and then of course we have the Lord of Sapphire. You can also access that as well. Just a really general good kit out for your Archmage. We're taking some chances because we gave this guy a Shadow Stalker, but then again, this army list, that's what it's all about. It's about closing the distance and getting towards your enemy, and at the same time being able to suppress your enemy while you're doing it. The last bit here is your noble. Now, typically speaking, you would make your battle standard bearer, your noble into a battle standard bearer for 25 credits. Unfortunately, I just didn't have enough points in order to make this guy into a battle standard bearer. You could drop your Star Dragon down to a Moon Dragon if you want to generate some more points, but I feel like it's kind of nerfing your prince a little bit, so we want to make sure we keep that Star Dragon on him. Now this guy does pack a great weapon, which was going to be great, adding +2 to his strength, and he's got full plate armor as well as a shield for a little bit more survivability. But to make this guy really deadly, we mounted him on a Griffin. Now Griffin's quite good because it adds +2 to your toughness, making it toughness 5. It also adds 3 to your wounds, making you 5 wounds. It's got 6-inch movement allowance, 5 weapon skill, 5 strength, 5 initiative, 4 attacks. It's also got Wicked Claws and Serrated Maw. It's got heavy armor, it has 9-inch flying at distance, large target with D3 stomp attacks. Also has Swift Stride as well as causes terror. It's a great mount for this character to be kind of flying around in. Ideally, you should have your prince and your noble kind of flying around together, picking at targets as you kind of charge into them, and hopefully in a pincer attack, kind of catch them from 2 different flanks. That part would be quite nice as well. At the same time, we also got the Pure of Heart Elven Armor because it comes free for your guys' army. And at the same time, we're also taking a couple of magic items as well. We're taking the Seed of Rebirth to give that 5 up armor regeneration save as well. We're also taking the Dragon Helm, and the reason why is so that way you get that 1 additional bonus to your armor save. It gives you a 6 of ward save against flaming attacks, which is kind of nice as well. We're also taking the Open Amulet, so that way in case you do get hit by something, you get that 2 of ward save against something that shoots you. Something like a bolt thrower, for example, or an artillery piece like a stone thrower or a cannonball. That'd be really great to use that for that as well. And of course, they also have the Strike First special rule, as well as Ithlamar weapons, as well as Valor Aegis special rules. So your characters, you're going to use up your entire budget of characters in order to fill these guys in the battlefield, but they're going to cause all kinds of chaos and destruction against your enemies, and it's a really powerful kit. So now that we're going to talk about your characters, let's talk about your core units on this one. So like I said before, this list is all about closing the distance with your enemy and catching them in close combat, so we're going to have a lot of fast movers in this army. And when your core choice occurs to be a unit of 8 silver helms at 229 points rather. You do have your champion, as well as standard bearer. We're giving them the war banner so that you get +1 to your combat resolution. Quite important to have for cavalry forces because they do kind of struggle with that combat resolution. We're going to skip the musician on this one just because you don't want to pay too much on our core attacks. But these guys do have hand weapons, lances, so they get that +2 strength of the charge. They have hand weapons, as well as heavy armor. They also have barding, as well as shields. They have close order rolling reflexes, first charge, Ithlamar barding, swift stride, Valor Aegis. So a great, just general core heavy cavalry unit that can really help you out as well. Now granted, they're not heavy cavalry in the traditional sense, but still quite hard hitting, and it can also catch enemy on the flank, cause all kinds of problems with them. In my opinion, the best way to use silver helms is use them in conjunction with a flank attack with either your prince or your noble to cause all kinds of problems. We're also taking a unit of 7 Illyrian Reavers as well. Now we're taking a Harbinger on this one to give them the Lore Master's Cloak, so that way you have a ward save against magic missiles that will be throwing at this target as well. These guys will be carrying hand weapons as well as cavalry spears. We're also upgrading them with short bows, that way they can take on targets when they're running around shooting at opponents, taking out chaff, for example, chasing down march distractors, that kind of thing. We're also giving them scout special rules as well as skirmisher special rules, so that way they can also kind of be a little bit more survivable when being shot at the same time be able to have them deploy directly towards an exposed enemy flank or a really important target of opportunity. These are great things to use for your army. And then of course, around our core choice, you have 2 units of 5 Elven Archers, just guys armed with longbows, what we're using them for. And the reason why is because, yeah, these guys kind of sit back a little bit. They're going to be used to kind of protect your Eagle Claw bolt throwers, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail when we talk about your special as well as your rare choices. So, very basic kind of core choices here, mainly cavalry as well as a few archers. So that being said, let's talk about your special units as well as your rare choices. So the last part we're going to talk about for your army are your special as well as your rare choices. So first of all, we're taking a unit of 6 Shadow Warriors. These guys will have a Shadow Walker with them, so that way they get +1 to their Ballista skill with that Ballista skill 6. These guys have armed longbows, they have light armor as well. They have Elven Reflex, Evasive, Fire and Fleet, Ithlamar weapons, Move Through Cover, Scout, Skirmishers, Veteran, as well as Nagaryth as well. Now this is potentially one of the units you can pair your Archmage with, so that way they can kind of use that Shadow Stalker ability. These guys can come up on an exposed flank, maybe attack an enemy war machine, riddle that down with some longbow fire. There's a lot of things you can do with this Shadow Warrior unit, and it can act as a bunker for your Archmage. Now, the best way to use this, depending on whether you're using your Sisters of Avalon or your Shadow Warriors, don't necessarily put your Archmage in your Shadow Warrior unit. Have them accompany your Shadow Warrior unit, but don't make it part of the unit. Keep them by himself, so that way your enemy has to specifically target your Archmage. Use these Shadow Warriors as kind of a screen. So that way if the unit does get targeted with a magic missile, it'll just affect the Shadow Warriors and not your Archmage. So that's just a little bit of a pro tip right there for you guys as well. And speaking of Sisters of Avalon, we're going to have 2 units of 8. We're going to have 2 units of 8 Sisters of Avalon at 120 points. Sisters of Avalon, of course, quite deadly themselves. Ballista skill 5, 5 additional 8 leadership. That bows Avalon, which are also quite good with their arrows of Isha, which is quite good too, giving you the armor penetration -1 as well as armor bane. So Sisters of Avalon are actually quite good. You could actually take them as core if you want to as well, if you took a Handmaiden as your general, but we're not going to worry about that. Of course, they also ignore cover, immune to psychology, Ithlamar weapons, as well as armor, open order, skirmisher, strike first. Just a really good all-around solid unit. We're going to take 2 units of 8, so that way you can riddle down your enemies with bows of Avalon, using those arrows of Isha in order to do so as well. At the same time, we also have our 2 Eagle Claw bolt throwers, and that's because no army in the High Elf army is complete without these, in my opinion. They do a really great single shot bolt thrower that causes 2 wounds, which is quite good. And they can also do rapid fire shots with their Eagle Claw bolt throwers as well. And that's the reason why I like to take these so much. Not to mention, these guys are Ballistic Skill 4, so you're reliably hitting most things whenever you're targeting against them. So the ability to do multiple wounds of 2. Also have through and through is really great against heavier targets like cavalry or heavy infantry, for example, or monsters, for example, could be good to use. Rapid fire have the ability to fire D3+3 multiple shots. They kind of nerfed it a little bit because originally back in the day it was a guaranteed 6 shots you got, but I guess they kind of nerfed war machines a little bit as well as shooting overall. In Warhammer the Old World, I can understand why they did it. I mean, I'm not too judgy on that. I'm just glad that the game is back, to be perfectly honest. So because of that, you do have that ability to take both those modes of fire, and since we have 2 of them, you could really use them to kind of balance it out. So a lot of shooting in this army. We got our Scissors Avalorn, our Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers, our Shadow Warriors, as well as our Archers. Your Elven Archers should be paired up with your Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers to kind of act as protectors for them. At the same time, we also have Illyrian Reavers for chaff. We got Silver Helms, but the main killers in your army, to be perfectly fair, are your Prince as well as your Noble. And that's going to make up your 2,000 points for Lord Tremendous's Kryptonite. So in conclusion, this is a really solid army to build off of, especially if you want to play Warhammer the Old World for the very first time. It's excellent for both new players as well as for experienced players as well. And the reason why that is the case because you can participate in all phases of the game. You have a lot of movement going on with this army, a lot of flyers in this army as well. You can also do pretty decent in close combat as well as magic throughout all the different phases, and same thing with the shooting as well. Plus you have some really interesting things you can do in the command phase as well with your fighters. Now in my opinion, the best way to play this army of course is to remember to hit those flanks and choose your battles wisely, so that way you can dominate the tabletop and send your enemies packing for the hills. And of course, if you guys have a suggestion of an army that you would like to see made on this video series, please drop a comment box down below. And if I like your comment and you like your idea, I'll give you credit and give you credit on the next video that we talk about for that particular army. So that's good with you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. I am Commander Cheapskate. I will catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.